tell me this then. What's the gauge?
Back up the river and put that comment on that canoe and send it back down out to sea.
Do you actually want
Guys,
to know what I think
I'm
refutes it, or
just
are you not going to read it? You asked for it. It's right there. I just posted it again. So why don't you click on it, save it
I
in your
will.
own
I
time,
will.
read it, and then we'll continue this conversation later if you can specifically rebut it without the name calling.
I most definitely will.
Jazza, can I ask you a question though?
Intelligent.
I don't know for Jazza, I don't know for sure what the number is, but I know there's a tolerance for landing an aircraft on an aircraft carrier. What is that tolerance? Is it plus or minus how many miles per hour?
I don't know the miles per hour. I know.
Okay, so I'm saying that 30 miles an hour additional is probably well within the tolerance.
Yeah, well, see, I speak in knots.
Okay, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It's a speed. The aircraft carrier's speed, if you went the other direction, would only represent a 30 mile per hour or like a 28 knot difference.
You don't understand why it wouldn't work, bro. It has nothing to do with it.
No.
Well, the arrestor gear is never set up wrong.
Real quick. That's why I made that. That's why I made that meme.
Hang on. Moyoc had a good question. And this is what I was trying to say to Witzer, that that's a stupid fucking thing because it never happens. And the aircraft carrier always goes into the headwind to make the ground speed of the aircraft landing 30 knots slower because the aircraft carrier is doing 30 knots.
Yeah, but the point is that planes never land on a runway like it's an aircraft carrier, and the lunar lander didn't land on the moon. Didn't land on the moon like it's an aircraft carrier. Don't talk over me. Look at that meme I made, which that's the reason I made that west southwest world, because that's like that they can't land. If they're going west southwest, they have to then go east to catch up to the tangential speed if they go towards the equator. They can't catch up eastward and fly west.
On new perspective, seriously?
Yep.
Yep.
You
have the speed of the ground. You match the speed of the ground. That's all you do.
That's all you have to do.
Okay, tell me this then. What's the gauge in the plane that tells them how fast the ground's moving?
Actually, I think he was doing optically. Actually,
really?
They also have gyro. They also have They also have gyros.
Every time I land, every time I'm in an
airplane. No. I'm talking about the lunar lander, dude. As I recall, I'm not sure. I thought there was some optical to it, where they actually look out the window and say, "I'm moving left."
You realize, even if that was the case, you realize how ridiculous that is. Like, how fast could they know? Like, just looking at it, how would you know how fast?
Could you tell when something's not moving with reference to you?
Okay,
I'm talking about it moving or not moving. I'm talking about the miles per hour. You'd have to have
miles per hour. That's moving and not moving, and whether it's moving left,
in
right,
a simulator. In a simulator, is that how they were able to be prepared for a landing on the moon? And just being able to use their eyes and like make little shifts here with their little joystick, a little shift here. Like, is that what they did?
I could be completely wrong, and they had that tiny little triangle window. I could be completely wrong, but I think that they took a measurement from a crater to another crater, and
they triangulated.
They gave them the distance between the craters, and that they gave them their ground speed above the ground. I could be completely wrong.
Even if that's
just to let you guys know, but I have to point out how crazy it is that you would think that they would optically do it. I don't know how you're saying. Actually, I was asking about a plane more.
Yeah, because they don't fly planes optically.
Yeah, they would never look at the ground and figure out how fast the ground is moving and then try to match their plane sideways to the ground so they can land on a non-moving surface. They always land on a non-moving.
They have instruments for that. They have instruments for that.
No, I'm talking
gyros would be ineffective because they're going to show whatever direction that you're moving. So I don't know how you would do it with gyros.
Talking about something in the plane that lets them know how fast the ground is moving, so they know that they have to somehow match that tangential speed. What would be the gauge in a plane? There is none. You never have that.
There is.
No, they're taught to treat the Earth as stationary and level. That's how all simulators work.
No.
Yes.
You fucking super intelligent cunt. That's not how.
Okay.
Oh my God,
the white
just have
paper
to
is
get
the
muted.
aircraft movement by NASA, designed by NASA. They just
Was that a compliment?
That's
and
aircraft design.
I was just putting that in front, not just to say cunt.
Well, they would have to have that, right? If it was actually spinning, they would have to have that measurement. They would have to know how fast the ground is spinning so they could match it. That would be necessary if the ground was spinning, is the point.
No, fucking Jesus Christ. And Lord and Savior.
Okay. Then tell me why it wouldn't be necessary.
You need to look that up. Do your own research. I'm not going to
do it. Why are you saying no? If you don't know, why are you saying no?
Because I can't be fucked teaching a 4-year-old.
He just has a
7-year-old class.
Saying I'm wrong, that they wouldn't need to know that, and you're just saying no. You're a helicopter pilot. You don't have that gauge, obviously.
I don't need to. I shouldn't have to tell you this. It's what I'm saying.
You land optically, don't you, Jazza?
You know where you are.
You stop all your forward and lateral motion optically, don't you?
I have to tell you this.
Yeah, it's you're looking at a point on the ground, and that's where you're landing, and you
go. It's never moving, is it?
No, you make
it's never moving. There's a reason for that.
Okay, new perspective. If I'm landing on a glacier, I look at a spot, I look where the windsock is, and I land where the windsock is. I make corrections to land there. If I'm landing on a moving boat on the surface of the ocean that's doing 30 knots, I make corrections to land on that spot.
Yeah, and if you land on the regular surface of Earth, do you ever have to make corrections?
Did you listen to what I just said?
You're talking about things that are moving. Now I'm talking about things that aren't moving, like the land that you always usually land on.
Oh, dude, fuck me, Jesus, fuck.
There's never any moving surface that you have to land on unless it's a boat or a glacier or whatever you're talking about.
So you can do it on both.
Jesus.
The point is, one moves, one doesn't.
It's funny how
30 knots faster than the other.
So can we just admit you guys can't rebut the lunar lander?
I got you there, bud. I got you there. Yeah, the boat's moving faster than the land would be moving.
No, the land's not moving at all, is the point.
Look, so just so you know,
according to him, according to the helicopter pilot, the land is moving, but it's just not moving as fast as the boat's moving.
No, he's saying that he never has to worry about the land moving when he's landing on the regular surface.
New perspective, like I said to what's his fucking handle before. When you get to a corner in a road, do you have to pull over and how you go around the corner? Do you have to do that?
That's a brilliant reply.
Are you touching the ground?
Do you have to do that?
What's next, guys? What's next?
It doesn't matter. Do you have to do that? Do you have to pull over and go, oh, fuck, how am I going to get around the corner?
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with what I'm asking?
It has to do with you don't even understand what you're asking is what it has to do with.
Okay, so new perspective, dude. This is, you've been like harping this argument for a minute. This makes it so much more solid because when they make their claims about how the planes work on the Earth, then it carries over into the moon landing. It's super fun. In addition to that, like, just so you know, they're going to always bring up the carrier ship, right? Like carrier ships, they have to use a tail hook.
Because you guys are super intelligent and shit.
They have to use a tail hook to catch the plane, and it has to land in the direction of motion. And of course, I'm sure you know they have to be trained specifically. It's the most accident-prone aspect of any flying. You can never fly in the opposite. You can never land in the opposite. Okay, what other portion of flying planes is more dangerous consistently than landing on carrier ships?
That is very dangerous, but there has not been fuck all accidents. Hang on. Someone just said bush flying. There's 1,000 more accidents than landing on a carrier with bush flying.
Bush flying?
It's where there's no runway. You're just like landing a fucking plane in a field or some shit.
Okay, that's not like an actual. That's not an actual. You don't just do that just to do it, right? Like that's like an emergency.
No, that's
actually, bush flying.
Oh, really? I don't. Okay, well, that's crazy.
That's fucking real flying.
So anyway,
well, it's not very often done. It's aircraft carrier. There's more accidents because they have to do that on a regular basis.
I thought you were talking about George Bush.
Well, they've gotten it down to where it doesn't. There's not like tons of crashes now, right? Like because the plane.
Okay.
I never said there was tons of crashes, man. I just said that it's dangerous and it has the. I said it has the most crashes, or it has like a lot of crashes relative to other like flying planes in other situations. So anyway, the point is that they have this little tail hook, right? And they catch them. And actually, there were tons of crashes for a long time until they kind of got it ironed out. But I mean, they got it figured out now. They have a tail hook and they come down. They land in the direction that the carrier ship is moving, and then they usually, they get done like a little bit before the 300-foot limit usually, and that's like the longest ones. They don't need the full 300 feet. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Anyway, the point is that it can't land in the opposite direction, and this is because of why basic physics, right? Not like what Moyoc was saying.
It would have to be moving sideways faster than it is moving forward, or
it couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't have opposing momentum. Like it would just. Yeah,
you don't.
Of course,
that's been my point this whole time. They would never be able to land on a north-facing runway if they're headed towards the equator, where they need more sideways speed than they had when they started off, and that's what ruins it. Because when you're going south, they can say, "Oh, well, I just bank east incrementally." But when you only go west and south, you go west southwest, and you're headed towards the equator, where you need more eastward momentum. You're never going to be able to match that. Not that you would be able to anyway, if you just went south incrementally. Like, you're still not going to be able to do it. But if you don't even let them go east at all, it just fucks them in the head. And Zanuck is just hilarious, dude. But he tries to answer it. He goes all over the place, trying to talk about other scenarios. And he's like, you just get there and you go south. He was saying last night that south is as good as east, right? Just aim south, and then you would be going more east.
What?
Funny. Yeah, he said it. I'm recording. Right now.
Coriolis and whatever going north and south, what you'll only experience is the equivalent of at 500 miles an hour is something like a 2.4 mile per hour crosswind.
Crosswind, yeah. They always try to conflate crosswinds. They think it's the same thing as a crosswind.
You don't treat it any different than you would a crosswind.
Yeah, you would. Earth moving consistently 15 degrees an hour is totally different than a crosswind.
No, it appears to you as a crosswind.
No, that doesn't matter. If they had to deal with crosswinds as well as Earth moving, it would be way more difficult.
Exactly. It's the physical difference of the plane and the Earth coming into contact. How do you guys not understand that?
Now, on a runway, you'd be talking about like less than a tenth of a mile. I mean, that's
it doesn't matter if
an estimate, but it would be less than a tenth of a mile an hour crosswind.
It wouldn't matter if
it's 20th of the ground moving is totally different than a wind moving the plane.
You are in the wind. You are following the Earth. You are in lockstep with it. All you can see is that you, for some reason, are drifting off target by a tenth of a mile per hour laterally. And I'm just estimating that number. I'm not giving you a hard number. I'm just estimating that number. So
you said the
I'm just estimating that. I'm just estimating that number. So you're drifting sideways, and you make a slight adjustment.
Just relax. One at a time, guys, please.
Just to save us time, a second ago, you and Jazza were just agreeing because you were saying that the plane could land on the carrier ship going the opposite direction, as long as it was slow enough. Okay.
Yeah, as long as it matched the speed. Yeah,
and that's why this is why you're not understanding what New Perspective is saying right now, because you're overlooking the same part of it, which is if the plane lands in one direction, but the Earth is moving in a different direction against it, then it's going to have opposing momentum. So then it's going to rip the plane apart, bro.
Yep. It would be like a tenth of a mile per hour at landing speeds. Now, I'm giving you a bogus number there.
Just the same as a crosswind.
It would be the same as a crosswind. So what you would see, you would see the ground starting to drift.
Or you would how am I gonna mod if you won't shut the?
Okay, good.
Like you're not letting the mod, bro. That's mad fucking annoying, and it doesn't help. It only makes it take longer. Guys, let Moyak, you heard Witsit spit his shit. Let Moyak respond to it. What the fuck?
you would see that you were drifting off target. I'm trying to run straight down the runway. And because the Earth is moving a tenth of a mile an hour faster, you'd say, oh, wow, I moved over the last 300 feet. I moved 1 foot to the left. Let me adjust for that. Just like as if a wind was blowing on you and blew you 1 foot to the left. That would be the only thing you would do. You'd say, oh, look at that runway. I'm not lined up with it. Let me line up with it.
No, it's because the ground is moving in an opposite direction.
Jeremy, do you get the argument? I want to know if Jeremy gets this, because Zanuck was trying to tell me that you didn't agree with me, Jeremy, or something like that. He was trying to use you against me. Do you get the argument?
Why don't you lay it out simple and concise?
Okay. So when you go towards the equator, it's going to be moving 1,000 miles an hour, which is faster than where you started at. Like, say, if you started at 500 miles per hour, like towards Chicago, right? That latitude's moving in a smaller circle. So it's moving slower, the ground, right, than the equator. You get that, right?
The ground's moving faster at the equator than up north, yeah. Sure.
Right. So if you have the conserved speed of the 500 miles per hour, and you assume that that's how fast the plane is moving sideways eastward when it takes off, right? We have to give them that, because that's the reason that when hot air balloons go up, it doesn't look like the ground's moving below, because you have this conserved momentum, right? That's their argument. But when you go towards the equator, then you'd have to get the plane moving sideways faster, so that when it lands on a non-moving surface. I mean, the plane never has to time the landing, right? You get that? It never has to time the landing to make sure that it's in sync with the Earth. It's always in a 1-to-1 relationship.
Dude, when you move north, when you move south towards the equator, and when you change your tangential speed, that's how the Coriolis effect happens on the globe, and now you just deviated. You got it. Right. I don't know what you're talking about with the 500 miles an hour.
Wait, hold on. Let me explain.
You got to boil it down to a simpler.
Your shit don't even make sense when you say it.
No, listen, I'm walking you through it, right?
I promise you got to make it more simple and concise. I promise.
The original conserved speed, right? Now, if you went south and you just went straight, the Coriolis effect would get you would deviate, right? Because your destination would have moved eastward from you if you were able to go dead reckoning south. We've already talked about this, right? Remember how we were talking about... Hey, Jeremy, remember how we were talking about all the flight paths would be different because you would take advantage of the Earth moving, and then you would just meet the city where it comes to you? Remember how we were talking about that a while back? For fuel consumption, we were saying, oh, well, if the city's moving, we would take advantage of that, and we would just go more south and then meet the city where it's going to meet, right, where it's going to be. Well, that's the whole principle. The city is going to be moving eastward of you. So that means you'd have to move your plane eastward to be in sync with the Earth, right? And they say incrementally.
Yeah,
they say
correct
you're correct,
for
right?
the deviation of the Coriolis.
Right.
Yeah,
so then I say, well, if you're going straight south, you can say that you're correcting east, and somehow you can think that works. But if you only go west, southwest, how are they going to ever correct east?
I don't know. Right? So you lost me there. No, not right. Not right. You lost me there. Not right.
That's what I'm saying. Listen, wait. You're still headed towards the equator, where you're going to need 500 miles per hour more tangential velocity, right? Because you're still headed south, where it's going to be a faster ground speed. But you can't correct east because you only went west and south.
No, I think it is.
You get it? You get it with it?
I think it is.
Yes.
It would be much more complicated.
I get it. What is there not to get, man?
I don't get what there's not to get.
My advice is to be the way it all boils down, because I think I'm going to stamp. They were like, year of the Black Swan, year of the Sextant. I'm going to stamp this as the argument that I'm driving home for 2023, because it's damning and it spills over into the moon landing. But in my opinion, I agree with you that north to south, Great Circle routes debunk the globe. You'd have to accelerate forward and bank in the direction of the Earth moving away from you to compensate for your flight path, or you'd be way off of the destination. But where it really comes down to shut up, please. Where you can concisely boil the argument down is when the plane landed on the runway, it would rip apart. Okay, you can't land You can't land with opposing momentum. You can't do that.
No, you can't.
That's it. No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
You'd have to have jets on the side of the plane to move it faster. Like, think about it, Jeremy. You'd have to be moving sideways eastward with the Earth 500 miles per hour faster than where you started from.
Yeah, dude.
So if you're in the west and south, you're not going to be able to bank east and make corrections.
Well, it'd be like international spacecraft, or it'd be like the International Space Station, where you have to have you have to have a little burst here on this side just to get it to go that way.
No,
yeah, you have to have direction on the side, making it move faster sideways than it would be moving. Yeah, so you're going to slow down. Listen to this. Also, even if you could catch up, right? Like, say you're hauling ass to catch up to this fucking Earth. Somehow you're like in a 1-to-1 relationship. At least you're going as fast as the Earth. But then you slow down to land. You're not gonna keep moving sideways as fast as you caught up. You get it? If it's a north-facing runway, you'd have to be moving 500 miles per hour faster than where you started from, and slowing down to 100 miles an hour to land. You can't retain the momentum.
Can anyone remember the last time they flew in a plane, or they were in the air, like they were landing? Like, yes. It slows down incredibly. Like, it is like it shakes the whole cabin. The children in the in the plane start to cry, and it's like, it's disturbing.
So if even
that's wonderful. That was so non sequitur.
Even if there was no, it's not, because now take that into consideration, right? If the Earth was moving even slightly in an opposing direction, it would rip that plane to pieces. Dude, this is just subjective. The way that the globe could get out of this would be if they claimed the atmosphere moves in literal perfect lockstep with the Earth, right? Then you could claim that you can land on the Earth. Okay? But you guys don't claim that.
No, that's called wind, and we land in wind all the time. What is your problem?
What's it? Even if that were true, then it would be forcing the plane to stay with the Earth's rotation, and it would never be able to fly against the spin.
This is true.
Take the tail. You change the rudder a couple of degrees, and you land in conjunction with whatever the wind is doing.
That's not really my point. My point is specifically for the problem that you can't land on the ground while it's moving in the opposite direction. You could only claim that if you were claiming that they can't claim that the Earth is moving in perfect lockstep with the atmosphere.
Come on, man.
Even if 50 different reasons.
If it were, it still wouldn't work, because it would be forcing the plane to move with the Earth, and it would never be able to fly in the opposite direction.
All you do is you match what you see. You look out your window. You've got a little crosswind. It's blowing you off target. You adjust your rudder a teeny tiny bit. You now land.
Are you a pilot?
Why do you keep talking about the air? We're talking about a landing.
That's what it looks like to you. It would appear. If you were on an Earth and the ground was moving like, and it was changing velocities as you went along, that would appear as a wind. It would, to all intents and purposes, be to the pilot indistinguishable from a little bit of a crosswind.
No, that's not how pilots fly.
Completely wrong. You have winds moving in all directions. If the Earth is moving in one direction at 15 degrees, 1,000 miles an hour, right, at the equator,
and you would
have to deal with the winds moving in all directions as well as the Earth moving in one direction.
And you are too.
Then with the winds moving in the opposite direction, winds pushing the plane in the opposite direction that the Earth is moving, then you would have to then somehow correct for the Earth moving as well as the winds. Get it?
Nope, it would just be a variation in the amount of wind speed.
It's objectively true. You cannot say it's the same. Do not conflate.
It would be just a variation in wind speed. And at the speed you're talking about, like 100 mile an hour landing speed, 118, 130 mile an hour landing speed, you're now talking about a very subtle wind, way less than the wind that you're experiencing.
Objectively not the same.
Way less than you're experiencing. Way less than way less than
anyone that's common sense.
Way less.
Hello.
Not the same thing.
Dave, wait till he's done and then you can go. All right. He'll be done. You're going to go next. So there's no rush to try to jump in because you're definitely going to be next. Dude, what the fuck? There's no need to jump in because can people hear when other people are talking, or Moyak, then Dave, then New Perspective? No need to jump in. You're definitely going to go next.
I've got a 5 mile an hour crosswind. and let's say for Coriolis effect, I've got a half a mile per hour of adjustment to that crosswind. Depending on which way the crosswind is happening, it will either be 6 and a tenth of a mile an hour, or if it's going the other direction, the wind's going the other direction, it'll be 5 and something miles per hour. It will appear as a wind. There's no other way for it to appear.
Okay, now I'm going to go. It's objectively not the same thing. I'm not going to say it again to you. Crosswinds are totally not the same as the Earth moving. I don't know how to explain it to you other than to say that. You have to believe it's that way so that you think it's actually possible. But if you realize that the wind moving in all directions and the Earth moving in one direction at 15 degrees an hour is totally not the same thing. They're totally should not be conflated. I'm not going to say it again. You can keep thinking that if you want, because otherwise your globe is completely debunked, and it is.
Correct. The funny thing is, if I was to fly due south, absolutely due south, and there was no wind on Earth, let's say, and I'm just flying south, and I don't make any adjustments, I will essentially, wherever I am, I will be going at ground speed because the air will be going. I would have had this fictitious wind blowing on me, and my aircraft will be adjusting the entire time just because of the air column that I'm in.
You said fictitious wind.
This dude just said that out loud.
Wind. That's what
the fictitious wind.
That sounds like we're saying.
Dude, here's the deal, man. If you land a plane, everyone's been in a plane, just like the guy said. When you land, it's like a big deal, right? It's like, boom, it's a whole thing. If that Earth was spinning to your left or your right or against you while you landed, it would rip the plane apart. There's no way around.
It would be so much worse. It would be so much worse.
How would that happen? Why would that happen?
You don't understand why it would happen.
Point. It never happened.
No, I don't understand. I don't quite